Hey everyone, this podcast is part of Story Mode, the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. You can support us and gain access to other great exclusive podcasts at patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
And now it's time to... Hey! Hey! Come here. I said, come here. Jason! Recycle.
Welcome to a brand new episode of... Oh shit, Tom, what is this called?
What is it? It's Reboot, Reuse, Recycle, right?
Yeah, good job. Welcome to another episode of that.
Yeah.
A show where we watch original films and their remakes. I'm one of your hosts, David Bell.
I'm a second host, Tom Ryman.
And real quick, just a shout out to Dr. DNA, our Patreon producer who made this all happen. This is, despite my low energy start here, this is legit. Like, I'm enjoying doing this. I mean, I enjoy all the podcasts we do, but like this is just a, you know, it's good, wholesome fun. You know,
yeah.
Watching movies.
Do you need to go do a couple bumps?
Kinda.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. Just rail a line or two. Mm-hmm. You know.
Yeah. No,
of anything.
Yeah.
It doesn't
really
have to be
anything. Your cat.
Yeah.
Just get the cat up in there.
Yeah, it could be salt. Like, it'll wake you up no matter what, you know?
Yeah.
And so we did True Grit. That was the last pairing of episodes. And so we're on to a new pair. Which I think we already told people what it was.
I think we did. I can't remember.
But,
it was like 700 podcasts ago. Yeah,
and I'm like building it up like they can't read the title of the episode.
It's the Amityville Horror, folks.
Amityville Horror from 1979. Which means we'll be watching the goddamn 2005.
2005 was that?
Yeah, and I don't remember that remake at all. I can't imagine it's good, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
We'll figure it out when we get there, yeah.
I'm honestly excited about doing this one more than True Grit, because True Grit, I knew the remake so well.
Yeah,
we
covered it, but like the differences aren't staggering between those two.
And what we're going to get here is like old horror versus new horror, and I think that's going to be really fun.
Yeah. Although I think 2005 horror still qualifies as old horror at this point.
Yeah, and also it's bad horror. It's a bad era of horror. But both of these versions, the remake and the original, I don't really watch. The Amityville, oddly enough, isn't on my radar, considering that I grew up on The Exorcist and The Omen. I mean, I certainly watched this as a kid.
Yeah, for sure.
But I didn't watch it much.
Yeah, this movie I've seen only once before. I'm in kind of the same boat as you. I hadn't, when we sat down to do this episode, I hadn't watched Amityville Horror since high school. Like it's been that long since I watched it.
Yeah, and
I still remembered like the main beats and stuff, but yeah, it's just not a movie that I was into The Exorcist and I was into The Omen. Because hot take, those are good movies.
Yeah.
I don't know.
As opposed to this, right?
This movie's fine, I guess.
Right, I wanted to talk about that, and I was going to wait till one of our next sections.
Sure,
because we have several sections.
Yeah,
we have plot,
okay. Yeah, you've got the sections. Yeah, let's hear them.
The plot, where we go through the plot. People, where we just talk about who's in it. Performance, where we talk about the actual quality of the film, and the performances, etc. And then purpose, where we discuss what the movie means. And I do want to start out with the fact that I do think this is also a middle of the road film. I think I think it's easy to forget that an old film doesn't mean it's a good film. You know what I mean with horror? Because it has a lot of the old horror sensibilities, and it's not terrible.
No.
But I wouldn't call this movie amazing or like a classic or really on the same level as The Exorcist or The Omen.
Especially since those two, I'm pretty sure those two films had already come out, right?
Yeah.
This is after them. Let me double check that to make sure.
79. So this is not quite the Shining. The Shining is when I always forget The Shining. It's like 80.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I want to talk about because of some stuff that's in this.
Omen was 76. Exorcist was 73. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So this movie. Yeah, it's I don't know. Well, okay, we'll talk about it.
Let's talk about what it is, because it's based off of a quote unquote true event that I didn't bother to research.
Only a little bit. I didn't do that much reading about. I've read up on it in the past, but in preparation here, I just it's basically what the movie goes through. They sensationalize a couple of things. But it is like the real life people were named George and Kathy Lutz, and they moved into this house.
Right.
Where the DeFeo, I think Ronnie DeFeo, killed his entire family. They don't actually mention his name in the movie, which is interesting.
Yeah, that's a good choice.
Yeah, you would think they would still mention the DeFeo family murders or whatever. They don't.
Right.
It's just we see it was a real life event. So they moved into this house afterwards. They noticed some strange things. They ultimately moved out, and they sold their story.
Yeah.
And I think it was at least like the first, because like The Exorcist is like quote unquote based on a true story. I feel like this was like one of the, obviously not the first, but like one of the first, like, this is a true story, like horror movies, right?
Which is interesting because do they ever say that in this movie? I'm sure the marketing was
the marketing.
Saturated
you
with
couldn't.
That. Yeah.
Like I think the book came out in 77. And this was originally supposed to be a TV movie.
But if you didn't know about the real story, you just wouldn't, know. This is one of.
I think it honestly, it's hard to not. I don't know, but I feel like the Amityville Horror is so connected to the idea of it's based on a true story.
Oh yeah.
I think you'd be hard pressed to find somebody who's not aware of that. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I've not tested that hypothesis, obviously.
Tom, would you know that this is part of a cinematic universe, sort of? And that, can you guess how many Amityville, you could call them sequels, spin-offs, readaptations, have happened since this movie?
Okay, there's 2 sequels that I'm aware of. There's Amityville 2, and there's Amityville 3D. I think there's like an Amityville The Return. I think there's another television adaptation, and then there's the 2005 version. So I think like 5 or 6.
The answer is 19.
19. I was way off.
Yeah. Besides this movie, 20 total. The
Damn.
Amityville Asylum, Amityville Death House, the Amityville Playhouse, Amityville Vanishing Point, the Amityville Legacy, the Amityville Terror, Amityville Prison.
That's enough.
And so on and so forth. They have sucked this story dry.
I've heard.
And out of all those movies, how many of them are good?
Maybe one.
Maybe one.
Maybe one. I've heard the people. I had read the people of Amityville really fucking hate this movie.
Well, yeah, the house changed the windows because
and they used a different address in the movie.
Yeah, they filmed at a different house because the original house, I think they started to film there and they were like, no. I didn't look too much in the behind the scenes, but I know that the people living there now were like, we're remodeling. Fuck this.
From what I've read, it was a situation where they just couldn't get the permits they needed. Like the Amityville people were just like, nah.
Yeah, and it makes me sad that the house has since been remodeled, but also I understand why they remodeled it. I'm not mad at them. I'm mad at the jackoffs who show up with cameras, Like the Goonies house. Remember when the Goonies house had to like put up walls?
Yeah.
Because they were like, get off. Yeah.
And like, I think Robin Williams' house from Mrs. Doubtfire or some shit
My own
like
personal
that.
story, when I visited Asbury Park in Leonardo, New Jersey, we stopped at a certain funeral home. And we took pictures, and a guy comes out, and he's like, couple of Clerks fans, huh? We're like, yeah. And he's like, yeah. This is like we're like doing a funeral right now.
Funeral home.
Yeah, like I get it, but could you not? And it was like, oh, yeah. All right, never mind. Because, yeah, staying on people's fucking property. I get it. I'm guilty of it, but I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. This, yeah. I guess it really does, for me, mark, the first time it's based on a true story. And it doesn't, the movie, again, doesn't feel like it milks it. It's, I don't want to call it tasteful, but, like, not mentioning who the family is. And I don't know, not, like, blasting us with this, not doing, like, the Conjuring movies, you know? They love being, like...
surprising to settle on this movie as being not as exploitative as it could be, but that's kind of an accurate description. Yeah, because we've lowered that bar real low, so to the point where we literally have a movie that casts real life hucksters Ed and Lorraine Warren as superheroes, right? And if you remember in Conjuring 2, they fucking they do an Amityville shout out. So I guess we'll talk about the plot, right? It's a new family moving into an $80,000 house, and Lois Lane is like, geez, $80,000, and it's like, oh fuck you and you 70s family, but whatever. And then a bunch of weird shit starts happening. The fucking rocking chair moving around. Yeah, it's a bit of a slow burn. They have fucking Rod Steiger come over, who just keeps getting fucked up every time he tries to even speak to these people. He gets fucking annihilated by the universe. I love that the demon pranks them so much. It fucking Tommy Boys them at one point. Yeah, where the fucking the car hood flips up. Yeah. Yeah, Rod Steiger playing the role of James Woods in Scary Movie 2. Was it 2? I don't know. You remember when James Woods was in Scary Movie 2 doing the priest role with the flies? No. Doesn't matter. And the gag is that he's taking a dump. And that's why the flies are all... Nope. So it's a good gag. Nope. Don't remember with James Woods. Oh, man. Yeah, and so everybody's like... freaked out by it. A bunch of the girl has an imaginary friend. I'm really like rolling over this. I mean, it's just synopsis. That's pretty much it. Like it's the dad slowly goes crazy. His business partnership falls apart. We find out he looks exactly like the dude who killed his family in the opening. The opening is like a guy killing his family in the same house and then them moving in. He looks just like him. They find a doorway to hell under the basement steps. Yeah, it's really just like a space beneath the steps that's been walled off. It's like Harry Potter's house. Yeah, it's like it's the room beneath the stairs. It's like a little closet. It's so funny. That's like the focal point of the evil energy is this tiny closet underneath the stairs. But yeah, the dad is slowly going nuts. He shoplifts from a library, and I was like, come on, man, how hard is it to just check out the book? All right. The demon just keeps punking fucking Rod Steiger. Just keeps fucking him. It's really funny. Yeah. Blinds his ass. Yes, in a church. Miles away from the house. Yeah. The door goes nuts. The dad goes nuts. I mean, both statements are true. You're right. Both the door goes nuts. True. Yeah, the door does quite literally fly off its hinges. Yeah. And finally Lois Lane researches the house. It was so weird to me that they do that in the third act. Like, you know, in horror movies where people, like, Google the haunt. She does it in, like, the last 15 minutes of the movie. Which, I don't know. It's weird. Yeah. They get the fuck out of the house, but then the shitty dog stays behind, so he has to go save the shitty dog. He falls in some goo. Is that hell? It's goo. Yeah, it's hell goo, as far as I know. Hell goo. The dog growls at him, and I was like, "You shitty dog." Yeah, the dog's like, "I was in here saving you." Yeah, being a shitty dog, biting him. It's like, "Fuck you, dog." Yeah, come on, man. I could have kept driving. We would have just bought another one. Yeah, exactly. You would have gone to hell or something. Don't matter. Yeah. He saves the dog. They drive the fuck away, and then the end title is like, and then they went to another state. Yep. I was like, yep. Yeah, they went to another state and never reclaimed their belongings. Right.
I mean, someone must have gone back in there, but whatever. So yeah,
they sold it right after to another family who lived there for 10 years, and they're like, "Yeah, we didn't have any problems."
Yeah,
and it's
almost like they made it up.
Yeah, and they also like poked holes in the movie. They're like, they're the people who pointed out that the gateway to hell. They're just like, yeah, that's just a closet.
Yeah,
like where that is. And
I keep my golfing shit in there.
Like the Lutzes had turned the basement into a rec room, so it wasn't like a creepy mausoleum down there.
Right.
Anyway.
It is funny to move into that house later and then showing people around, and you're like, yeah, this is the apparently gateway to hell.
Yeah, I mean, we bought this house for $60,000, so I'm not bitching.
Yeah. No, not at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they definitely didn't get $80,000 for the house after this.
Not if they fled it in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And it's all over the news as being possessed by demons.
Yeah. So that's basically it. It's just like haunted house. It's a lot of imaginary friends. She sees a demon out the window at one point.
Which is a pig for some reason.
Yeah, that was weird.
Why is it a pig?
I get the idea of what they were going for, and we'll get into that.
Okay. Because it's the only ghost that you see is this pig.
Yeah.
Really
it's
strange.
Mostly like, most of it is like, and I this is the thing I like about it, but most of it is like a presence in the house.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying
and
that
like it drives them slowly crazy.
Yeah.
And there's no real ghosts, and there's just like the walls bleed, there's goo.
Yes, which is what makes the decision to have the only ghost be a pig that much more baffling to me.
It's very weird.
It's a strange decision. Like, I was perfectly fine with not seeing anything because that's way more effective in a movie like this.
Or, all right, we'll wait to get.
Or
into
like
the next
glimpses
section.
of it. Like the initial one, I thought was okay. We'll get to it.
We'll get to it because we need to talk about the cast, the people.
Sure.
It's the director of Cool Hand Luke, Stuart Rosenberg. Much like Richard Donner in The Omen, this is not a horror director, which is, I mean, not.
I think it was more
not
common
unusual
back
in the
then.
70s.
Yeah, it was way more common. It seemed to be anyway.
I wish it was more common now. We got Margot Kidder, fucking Lois Lane.
Yeah.
James Brolin, looking like Christian Bale, sounding like Harrison Ford. That really fucked me up.
Yeah, he was a real collision of people.
Yeah. And of course, the MVP Murray Hamilton.
Yep.
The mayor from Jaws shows up in one scene where a priest is like, "This place is haunted," and he shows up just to be like, "No, it's not."
Yep, he shows
I
up
don't believe you.
to be the mayor from Jaws.
Yeah, now I'm off to my other job as mayor of Amity.
Yeah,
like it's so weird. It was so funny that he's just the exact same.
Yeah,
role.
they couldn't resist. It's very funny.
Yeah, it felt like stunt casting.
It must have been.
Yeah, if this was like a comedy, they'd make a more big deal of him walking into the room and the guy being like, geez, we got this guy, you know?
Yeah.
He also, not him, the guy he's with says to them, you could do with a haircut and shave when they leave. And I was like, you all look like Republican senators.
Yeah.
Like, who are you talking to?
Who are you shaming here?
Yeah. Shout out to that lady at the bar who's just like, let's go break into that house. I don't know who that actress is.
No idea.
Yeah. But mainly it's fucking Lois Lane and James Brolin, dicking around this house. Margot Kidder seems to be into anime. At least dresses that way.
Oh, yes. She shows up at one point.
She dresses like a cosplayer.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, that one outfit was real confusing. It's like, are you?
It was really. She's listening to like harpsichord music and sewing, and I'm like, what are you?
Yeah, what is this person? And then she shows up, dressed in a schoolgirl uniform, just casually,
several times.
She comes back from the grocery store, wearing this outfit, and it's like, are you cosplaying a Street Fighter character? What are you doing?
I don't. Yeah,
what is
so.
This?
It's such a weird choice. But I don't know. Maybe they were into that.
Like
in the 70s.
Yeah, I don't know.
That was a thing.
It was jarring.
Yeah, I mean she's smoking in it, and they're having their
course,
gross
it's
70s sex in front of their gross 70s mirror.
Yeah,
and that's
it's like
great.
a mirror that just looks perpetually dirty, and like in the
Yeah.
70s, people are like, "Ah, yeah." It's like, why do you want a mirror that looks like the ashtray at McDonald's?
Right. Well, because they're smoking inside all the time. They're
That's
doing all
true,
that
yeah,
cool
yeah.
70s shit. Listening to harpsichords, dressing like an anime character.
Yep, I don't know what's happening, but it's happening. So I guess I'm just gonna watch it.
And yeah, James Brolin, I don't know how else to describe him, but Christian Bale. Scruffy Christian Bale
Yeah.
with Harrison Ford's voice. And that really, that threw me off.
Well, that's not only is that an apt description of his appearance, but it's also that's just what he is in this movie. He's like, he's like a grizzled collision of Christian Bale and Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
It's like a
And he
black
slowly-
hole of grizzledness.
Yeah, as he slowly turns into Christian Bale on the Terminator Salvation set.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess we can get into performance too, right?
Yeah.
When we're talking about the people. Mm-hmm. And this is also where we start talking about the quality of the film. Sounds like it's going to be pretty loose. Right? We're going to jump all over the place. Is my
Yeah.
assumption.
Well, the interesting thing that I want to flag straight away when we're talking about performances.
Yeah.
And this is something we're going to have to keep in mind because I imagine we're going to have to reckon with it a lot more for the 2005 version. But we said already, this came out before The Shining. So
Yes.
George Lutz's journey in this movie is Jack Torrance in The Shining.
Yeah, and I mean the book existed, right? The Shining, the book.
Sure.
And The Shining was probably being made around this same time.
The Shining was being filmed in 79.
Yeah. So this was still filmed before it. But you're right, is that it's not just... There's a part where he literally chops down a door with an axe. And I was like, oh, huh.
Mm-hmm. Okay, it
That's
looks like
like the thing.
The Shining came out in 77. Which
Wait,
is
really?
The book.
Oh, the book.
The book was released in 77, which is the same
But they
year
wouldn't-
that Amityville was published.
Right, and they wouldn't know about because in The Shining it's a mallet, so like the axe isn't a reference to the book.
No.
They just coincide, and what I think is really interesting is that Brolin's performance very similar to Nicholson.
That's what I wanted to call out.
Yeah, because the transition to like full on insanity, he's exhausted at first.
Yeah.
He's just not feeling well. He's tired. He's clearly not getting sleep. He's annoyed, which turns him into being an asshole, which turns him into being violent. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yeah.
And I guess that's just how you do that transition. But there's like a desperation to his face.
Yeah. A weariness that you feel.
Fatigue. And it's the demons breaking him down, essentially.
Yeah, and it's not that in Stanley Kubrick's The Shining.
Right.
It's more of a seduction in Stanley Kubrick's Shining.
Right.
But it is like I'm very curious now, having just rewatched this for us to watch the 2005 version and see which direction Ryan Reynolds goes in.
Yeah, I am curious about that. I'm assuming the other big thing about this movie that I'm assuming is going to be a huge difference in the new one is the horror sensibilities of this.
Yeah.
Is that even though this is probably it's a mediocre film of its time, I think their techniques are still above and beyond, and it'll ultimately be better than the 2005 one. Because they have a couple, but they're not really going for jump scares. Although the fucking cat, that shitty cat jump scare, I was like, oh, come the fuck on. Like, there's some cliches going back from for the dog. Again, it's middle of the road, you know?
Yeah, I mentioned earlier, this was originally, until surprisingly late in production, supposed to be a made-for-TV movie. Like, that's the kind of movie this was, something that would be turned around quickly to cash in on something that was very popular, but only expected to be very briefly popular.
Yeah.
So,
but even still, their techniques, I think, are more effective. a lack of music in a lot of scenes.
That actually signifies the arrival of a haunt. Is all of the sound drops out, and it's a really it's an effective technique.
Not to mention that a lot of the haunt comes out in the performances rather than visuals. Rod Steiger and that nun, like the religious people come into the house and their expressions, their demeanor drops. They get sick. When they do the Rod Steiger, the famous Get Out scene, it's just like the fly sounds slowly getting louder and zooming in on the flies and zooming in on Rod Steiger, and then silence. And then like the door swings open.
Yeah, then you get the Get Out.
Everything drops out, and then Get Out. It's so effective because the sounds are so good, and he's so scared.
Yeah.
And they show you nothing.
Yeah, you don't see anything.
You could make that sequence at home on an iPhone.
Yeah.
And some flies. You need a bag of flies.
Yeah, you'd need a lot of flies, which, I got a guy.
Yeah. We all got a fly guy, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand how you're a professional adult if you haven't found a fly guy yet.
No, yeah, you need at least one fly guy's phone number, preferably two if the first fly guy is sick.
I think we're talking a lot about James Brolin as George, and Rod Steiger as father. What was his name? Delaney.
I don't know.
I think Margot Kidder does a pretty good job in this movie too.
Absolutely.
As being sort of the glue that's not, you really start feeling for, because she's trying not to be. We get the sense from the beginning that she's already kind of walking a little on eggshells, not because of anything George is doing directly, but because she has, like we infer from their interactions and for early scenes they have together that they're newlyweds. She was married before and has 3 children, so. And like I think in their first scene in the master bedroom together, like they cuddle up and she thanks him for everything. So you get the sense that she's already feeling like she could lose him at any moment.
Right.
So then once the shit starts going down, she starts to you really feel a unique kind of terror coming from that character, because it's not just this house is fucked. It's my kids are acting strange, my husband's acting strange, and that's compounding worries that I already had. It's a good performance, I think.
Absolutely. And her her fear face. She's nailing that.
She's got a good fear face, yeah. That nightmare when she walks in on him killing the little girl and then splitting her head with the axe.
So good.
Oh man.
And it's shot very old school.
Yeah.
It's it's basically just her walking in, wide shot, kind of showing the rocking chair, her face. This is one of those things that makes me that it's weird that horror movies for a while stopped doing this, and I feel like they figured it out again. But when you're gonna do a jump scare, it's better to show the person reacting to what they're seeing before you show it.
Yes.
There's something a lot scary about that. So goes into the room, you see her face, and you see what she's reacting to, and then it cuts to him over the little girl covered in blood with the axe, and then it's like one more over the shoulder shot where the axe goes into her head, and it's just like gives you just enough
and then
gore,
it cuts.
And then she wakes up.
Yeah.
And it's a dream.
Yeah, it's so good.
And that's the stuff where I'm like, even for a mediocre film, there's an elegance in the way they're shooting it. The beginning credits, that shot of just the house, and then the window lights up and you hear a gunshot.
Yeah.
For the beginning, they keep when they're getting the tour.
That's probably my favorite part of the film.
Yeah, because the real estate lady is like, oh, and here's an extra room, and then hard cut, gunshot, and showing him killing people, and then cutting back.
It's a hard cut to like another movie, because it's cutting into the scenes as they're taking the tour. It keeps doing hard cuts of the murders happening, but the murders are shot differently because they're shot like we're seeing a murder happen. And
right.
They have each shot of the murders has its own score that's really like overbearing.
Yeah, like a high-pitched whine.
Yeah, so it's like
Yeah.
as it smashes in and out of those hard cuts, it's so jarring and unsettling.
And like, yeah, it's a very simple trick. At one point, it like freeze frames on them and then cuts.
Yeah.
And it's so simple and it's so unnerving. And it's that plus people's performances, very little visuals.
Yeah.
And that it's so effective. The fucking doll shot blows all other doll shots out of the water, where Brolin is in the girl's room and looks over at the rocking chair, and it's just a Raggedy Ann doll sitting in the middle of this chair, but it's lit very even and dark. The doll has these giant fucking eyes. There's no jump scare sounds. It's all silent. But him looking at it, reacting to it, and then we cut to it, it's like, ugh. Ah.
Yeah,
And it's just a fucking doll.
Yeah, and at that point we already have the context of like we know like in the shot earlier she was asleep in the bed with the doll with her. We know that her invisible friend sits in the chair. There's a cool shot where Margot Kidder comes into the room to talk to her, and we see the chair stop rocking, but she doesn't.
Yes, and then she leaves,
Yeah.
and I believe that, and that's all. They're nailing the slow burn. The stuff where it really falls apart is when they do attempt to do jump scares. The cat jumping out is hilarious.
It's so dumb. The pig,
EJ
the initial pig scare I like, because it does the same rules that you were outlining a second ago, where she goes to the window to shut the window, and then we see her react to something, then we hear like a snort, and then it cuts to these two glowing eyes just outside the window. It's effective.
Yeah, but then they blast like basically the Psycho music.
Yeah.
And the eyes, the reflective eyes, kind of move, and
They look
movie
fake.
like
They look fake.
yeah, and the problem is like you should have been more subtle.
Yeah.
They really like they want you to be scared in that moment, so they do what modern horror movies do all the time. They blast you with music,
Yeah.
and then they show you something visually that's just like, oh, that's not quite there. Like you needed to do this quicker or something.
Yeah, or it just needed to be done because they hold on it, and it's like, whoa, and then they move, and it just looks like eyes on a dummy. Yeah, so it's, from what I was reading, that's supposed to be the pig in that shot, which we see later, which I'm going to talk about in a second, because that's fucking funny.
What pig? Wait.
The pig. That's supposed to be the pig.
Yeah.
Jody is
well,
a pig.
Well, it makes an oink.
Yeah. And then we see the pig later when Brolin looks up at the window from outside. Remember?
Oh, yeah. Wait, Jody is a pig?
Jody is the pig, yeah.
Got it. Yeah, I figured it was Jody.
Yeah.
And my assumption was like it's like a demon, and this demon is like pig-like.
Sure.
Or something. Like, I don't mind the pig sounds because it is a creepy thing to hear.
Yeah, it's just strange to me. Because I don't understand why it's a pig.
Yeah.
I guess it doesn't need a reason.
Yeah, if it was any other movie, like a modern movie, they would have a scene
would overly
where she
explain
Googles
why,
a pig demon,
and it would be
you know?
stupid. Yeah, I agree. I don't need to know why it's a pig. It's still funny to me a little bit. But what I was going to get to is that I was reading about the movie, and the director was talking about how they made that pig like a version of the pig. Because I think the version we see is just an actual photograph of a pig that they doctor. Anyway, so they like made a pig for Margot Kidder to look at in that shot, and it was just cracking her up.
That's great.
Like they couldn't get
and she's like,
scare out of her.
She's like, I'm sorry, guys. Is this going to
sorry.
be in the movie?
Don't show
and they're
that.
like, I guess not.
Like,
Yeah.
Don't put that on film. And then
Oh,
Brolin
God.
looks up at it, and it's a quick shot of the pig in an upstairs window, but it's animated, sort of. Like it's a head-on shot, and then it becomes a profile of the pig, and it's just a photograph of a pig with some like After Effects on it and with glowing eyes. But the way they animate it so that it's looking head-on, and then it turns to the side as Brolin's watching it from out down below, it looks like when South Park has a character that's a photograph of a real person, and they're animating it turning. It looks like a pig on South Park. It's very funny, and it's not meant to be.
Yeah, I get what they were going for, because I think if they had pulled it off, it would have been really freaky. But
I remember it. It got me the first time I saw it. I remember that pig shot and the lady saying it's a gateway to hell were the two things that I remembered from the movie. Well, those two and Get Out.
That lady is like on acid or something. Because so I was unclear. He meets her at a bar, and she's like, "That's that demon house." And then they go to the house and like start chipping away.
It's his partner's wife.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, that makes a little more sense.
She comes with him to the house earlier when he shows up to give George George to sign the payroll stubs, and she doesn't want to go any closer. She waits in the car.
They still break the fuck in the house, but whatever. He goes downstairs. And he's like, the fuck are you guys doing?
They don't break in. They're there to watch the kids because George and Kathy were supposed to go out.
Oh, okay.
And then they don't go out because they find that the fucking gateway to hell.
right.
Stairs.
Yeah, it's a gateway to hell because it's not her voice when she says it.
It is.
Oh, is it?
Mm-hmm.
They just make it sound different.
I think they distort it a little bit, but
yeah. And it's fucking.
It's intense. Like it's all performance. It's her face.
Yeah. Most of this movie, it's faces, performance.
Yeah.
And some blood on the walls. Shout out to that vomiting nun because that made me laugh.
Oh, yeah, when she pulls over, it's like the gnarliest vomiting noise.
It's not an unrealistic vomit, and that's why it's funny.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because she's like, this is how people vomit, and it's like, no, you're not wrong. It's just hilarious when people vomit like that.
Oh, yeah. No, it's Marina can't disengage her vocal cords when she throws up.
Oh no.
So it's just her scream shouting into the toilet. Like sounds like a Beautiful. Dragon Ball Z character powering up.
Yeah. So again, going back to those sensibilities, it's really good idea. I think what it all amounts to is that this movie's a little fucking boring.
Well, that's
and like his weird business partner stuff, and like it's
there's a weird subplot with this cop that doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, and when it comes time to show, like again, the slow burns, the build-ups are really good, but when they're like, now it's time to show the thing, it's kind of dumb. When they open the gateway to hell and he like sees his hologram version of himself, I was just like, the fuck is that? And then her performance is great.
Yeah.
But like, yeah.
That was weird. I read about what they were going for, which could have worked. I think they just tried to be a little too authentic, and here's what I mean. It's the point of that was it was supposed to be a guy that looks kind of like really close to George.
Right, it's probably the other guy who shot his family.
It's probably supposed to be DeFeo, yeah. But in actuality, who that is James Brolin's brother with a fake beard on. So they cast a guy, they were like, oh, he's perfect, he looks a lot like you, this is what we're going for. But he looks too much like him. So that doesn't land.
Yeah.
You don't register that it's not him because they don't look different enough. They look too similar.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they look really similar. Yeah. I don't understand the significance of why he looks just like the last guy who killed his family.
No idea. It's just I think it's just supposed to be
in there.
I think there's a lot of it's we should start getting into the stuff that doesn't work because we started off by saying this is kind of mediocre to not good, and then we've spent a lot of time talking about what does work about it.
Well, like her Lois Lane looking at the newspaper and seeing basically just
it's James a photo Brolin. Of James Brolin in the
and she's like, oh my god, it's him, and she runs to the house and it's like, yeah, that would freak me out too. I think that's why they included it, because she needed a reason oh my god,
to be like that desperate. That's the other problem with the film is it has no pace. Like the pacing is completely out the window. It's a series of random events that don't feel like they escalate.
Yeah, and like I said, like that newspaper part, that's like in the last like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was like, you do this earlier in your movie. And so I am assuming the 2005 one is at least structured better for that reason. Not a better movie. But like, for example, they have two versions of a religious figure going in and then
we see
being freaked out and leaving. And I was like, we only need one.
We see the same thing twice, yeah.
Yeah, and all the religious stuff, like him praying and then the church like exploding and him going blind.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know why we need to follow these guys. They don't ever help in the end.
No, they don't.
Like
they don't even ever. She's not even ever able to speak to Rod Steiger.
Yeah, he just keeps choking.
Yeah, he either chokes or the phones get jacked up. He goes blind. Like it's. And then that kind of ties into the whole storyline where there's this random police detective that we follow it seems like they just they lifted that directly from The Exorcist, and it even struggles to justify its existence in The Exorcist. Like we don't need that guy's storyline in The Exorcist.
It feels like a bad script.
Yeah.
And a good execution of a lot of stuff by talented people, because we have talented actors and talented director, talented craftsmen, but like the script isn't there, and then there's some problems with the horror, with some of the execution on the big horror pieces, the pig and so on.
Yeah,
is just, it doesn't quite work. So like there's definitely some stuff they fucked up in the production, but most of all it feels like the script is just really weak.
Yeah, it's a weak. It's like I said earlier, it was intended until very late to be a made-for-TV movie. So I don't think they were thinking too much. I think they lucked into this movie being regarded as a classic, because I don't think if they had this cast, if they didn't have this cast and this director making the movie, it'd be like a fart. It would be we would not be talking about it ever.
It has some genuinely chilling moments that, if you say watched it as a child, stays with you and you remember it as a classic, but like you go back as an adult and you watch it and you're like, man, a lot of this drags.
Yeah, this could have been 80 minutes and it would have still felt too long. Yeah.
But the parts that work really work.
Yeah.
And that's why we're hitting it right in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, again, I'm assuming the new one isn't very good.
But the only thing I can remember about it is that... the only thing I can remember about it is that George is kind of like a little vicious from the start.
Yeah.
Sort of, again, like Jack Nicholson in The Shining, so maybe he was watching that more closely than the original Amityville. I don't know. We'll see when we watch it.
Yeah, I remember the girl on the roof.
It's Chloe Grace Moritz. How do you say her name?
Oh yeah,
that was the one where Michael Bay had a small child standing on the roof of a house.
Yeah, that's the only occurrence, if you watch the behind the scenes, where Michael Bay is nervous about a stunt, because he sure as fuck isn't nervous about anything else. And that was the only one who's on set. He's like going to the camera and he's like, I think maybe we shouldn't have done this.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you got a little girl tied to a roof. If this goes wrong, it goes spectacularly wrong.
It goes devastatingly wrong.
Yeah. Not that you know it at the time, but yeah, you're snuffing out a very long career too if something goes wrong.
Yeah.
Because she's going to become a star. Yeah. Should we roll into purpose?
Sure.
Roll into what this movie means? Because I stumbled upon a meaning of this that I'm like, yeah, I guess it is kind of about that.
That's interesting, because I have one up my sleeve too, and I wonder if it's the same thing. It's something Stephen King's actually written about too.
Okay, mine is very superficial.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to be about the fear of buying a bad house.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's about financial problems annihilating a family.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Because it's the haunting of the house is the door breaks. The water is gross.
Mm-hmm.
They find a weird room.
Yeah.
There's flies.
Yep.
There's infestation. Mm-hmm. It's just about poverty, I guess, is the bleeding walls. It's
Yeah. And then if like everything that sets George off is money related. Like we learn that the IRS is calling about his business. They're not really getting much work done. He has to pay for a check he has to pay for the catering with a check and it bounces. It's about money.
It's about buying a new house, worrying about money, and the house being shitty. Yeah, and like having to fix up the house, and the fear that you'll have to just leave the house in the middle of the night because like the house literally starts like rumbling, like it's falling apart. And so like I feel like that's if we went and watched Poltergeist again, I bet there's a lot of that in Poltergeist too. Because it is the same idea of like, we forgot to tell you.
Yeah, it's all there was this wave of suburban horror movies, and suburban isn't 100% accurate way to describe all of these films, but
for sure,
like The Shining, and this, and Poltergeist, and Rosemary's Baby, and Halloween, like they're all.
Yeah, I'd say Rosemary's Baby is more about the fear of pregnancy and having like men or other people control your life.
Yeah, it's in it. Being isolated.
Yeah.
But it's about domesticity.
But it starts from we're getting a new place.
Mm-hmm.
Hope it's good. Is there anything weird about it? And it's like, well, there's the neighbors. You know, at this point, there's the weird, the random dude with the beers
who
outside.
just disappears. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, it's like, are there weird neighbors?
Yeah.
Is there an infestation? Is there something we aren't being told about this house that's gonna fuck us?
Yeah, and I didn't mean when I said suburban horror, I don't mean necessarily that it's all about being a new homeowner. I just mean it's domestic horror.
Yes, people who are starting a life together.
Yeah, and it's based on like The Shining's about alcoholism, and this is about money, and like Halloween. Yeah, Halloween's about like not being able to keep your doors locked at night in a nice neighborhood, and Poltergeist is moving to a new neighborhood, and it's this is the perceived breadwinner of the house losing his mind and dissolving his business while the house falls apart. It's pretty transparent, I guess. And I really wonder if the 2005 one is gonna do that, or will it reflect the stuff of its time. But I feel like the 2000s horror movies didn't believe in anything nearly as much. That's true.
But maybe I'm wrong. Depends on the movie,
There's also still a massive chance for it just to stumble ass backwards into meaning something just by being a remake of the original. So even if the 2005 version is just about the breadwinner, the dad losing his mind and endangering the family, it's still like about something.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Even if
if they didn't mean it to be.
Yeah, even if just like, it was cool in The Shining when Jack Nicholson loses his mind. Let's do that with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah,
it's like, all right, you want to examine what that means?
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds is a good choice, but again, after watching this, I was like, well, get Christian Bale. But I know he's probably busy being not famous at the time.
Well, it came out in 2005.
Right. When was the Batman?
2005.
Oh yeah, so he was famous. He was busy getting real famous at the time.
He was busy about to become very famous.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they offered it to him.
Maybe,
I don't know. He's coming off of American Psycho. I would have offered it to him, but yeah, he's being Batman, so he's doing fine. He's doing great.
Yeah,
But Ryan Reynolds is a weird choice. But, like, I remember the time being like, oh, maybe,
Yeah.
Like, weirder things have worked out.
Yeah.
I don't think it did from what I remember. But, again, I don't remember it that well. So,
like I said,
maybe he's killing it.
Like I said, my only memory of the movie is that he's kind of vicious from the start.
Right, which is kind of a problem.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, George kind of he starts his descent pretty early, but he doesn't start snapping at the kids for a little while, and then
Right. Again, it's more like I'm tired.
I'm exhausted. Yeah, he's being broken down.
Yeah, exactly. So it translates over where it is a little different than Jack Torrance or Jack Nicholson playing Jack Torrance because he can't help but to be Jack Nicholson right away.
Yeah, right off the bat he's Jack.
Yeah, and I'm like, watch out, guys, watch out for that man.
Yeah, you're locked alone in a hotel with Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, don't do that.
Oh, you did that on purpose. Oh, okay. All right.
That's weird.
I'm not sure why you
Weird
do that.
choice.
Yeah, weird decision.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm glad we landed on the same thing. I mean, I don't have much more to say about this movie. I was just looking up who's going to be directing the remake, and boy, I don't know who this person is.
Isn't it the same person who did like a Texas Chainsaw?
No. This is the director of mostly music videos, and a couple episodes of Mindhunter. It doesn't look like made a bunch of documentaries. Seems like a director who just going by what I'm looking at in the credits, it reminds me of like the director of Downfall who came and did Invasion and then was like, nah, back to doing the thing I was doing before this. Like it feels like that. Like he got a taste of Hollywood and was like, nope, this isn't working out. Never mind. But I don't know. Man, this should be interesting.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'm pretty excited to watch this piece of shit.
Yeah, I definitely haven't seen this since it came out.
Right. But yeah, this movie, like, you could remake this a third time and potentially blow both of this and the 2005 one out of the water. Because this movie, like we said, it's good, but it's really has room for improvement. A lot of improvement.
Yeah, I mean, fuck it. Give it to what's his name? The guy I think is really obnoxious.
That could be a lot of people.
But he'd fucking crush an Amityville movie. Oh man, what's his name? Hereditary.
What did he do?
Hereditary.
Oh, R.R.R. Aster.
R.R.R. Aster. There you go.
Yeah, R.R.R. Aster could probably nail an Amityville. He might make it too long or something.
Oh, it would be like 4 hours long and intolerable.
Yeah.
But it would have some cool images in it.
Yeah. And I don't know, there's just more here, but also, I don't know, just make a movie based on not a real murder as well. You could do that too.
Yeah.
But this feels so far from, I don't know, this feels less dirty than some of the others.
Right, because they don't linger on, like, they don't use the
They don't linger on it being a true
name.
story.
Yeah, they don't, like, linger on the crimes. It's just there.
I think there's nothing wrong with making a horror movie inspired by a true story. It's really the marketing and, like, the really trying to push this is all true. It's like, I don't need it to be based off a true thing to be scared, you know? You're not gonna.
Point of fact,
that
usually has
you.
That has exactly. That has the opposite effect on me. Like it worked when I was a kid, but then as I got older and started to read about this shit, it was all like, well, this is all bullshit.
Yeah.
Like,
remember when fucking Apollo 18 ended by telling us how many moon rocks have been on Earth?
Moon rocks
and I was
are
like,
on Earth.
Are you trying to make me scared of moon rocks right now? Just do
Get
a
out
fucking
of
movie.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't need any of that. None of it fucking changes my experience.
Well, that's all marketing. It's when you don't have faith in the movie on its own.
Yeah, it literally only worked once on me, and it was Blair Witch because I saw that movie not knowing it was fake. I knew quickly after because I Googled it, but at the time I was like, "What the fuck?"
Oh.
And that, when you watch that movie thinking you're watching an actual documentary, it's like, fuck me. And then you go home and you go on the internet.
Oh, yeah,
that would. Never mind.
That would change your entire life. Yeah, if you saw that movie and thought it was real.
Yeah, I had an evening where I was like, Jesus Christ. Everything I know is different. And then you, Google and you go, oh, never mind.
I'd have gotten on a boat and just sailed to the middle of the ocean.
Yeah. For the record, I didn't Google it. I asked Jeeves about it or whatever it was at the time.
I don't even think you did that.
Yeah, you're right. I might have gone on Lycos.
Yeah, or Yahoo.
Yahoo. Oh, poor Yahoo.
Yeah, Yahoo's still
Poor
hanging
little
in.
Yahoo. Yeah. They figured themselves out. But they were on top of the world once.
Yeah.
They're like how they were dinosaurs once. Now they're birds, you know? It's like they're still hanging in there, but, you know, at what cost?
Yep.
What cost?
What
Tom?
cost? What feathery cost?
Yeah. Is that it?
I don't know. You're looking at the outline. What do we got left?
Oh, that was it.
Oh, sweet. We're done.
Talking about the purpose of the movie, talking about what it means, you know? That's really, and I went into this not assuming it would have a purpose, and then being like, oh yeah, this is ridiculously obvious.
Yeah, it's pretty on the nose.
Yeah. So I don't know. Thanks everybody. Thanks for listening. Right?
Yeah.
And thanks to Dr. DNA for making this happen.
Mm-hmm.
We have, of this miniseries, there's going to be 6 episodes total, which means we're covering True Grit, and then we're covering these 2, and then we're covering 2 more.
2 more, yeah.
And I'm not going to tell you what they are.
It's a secret.
It's a big fucking
It's
secret.
a big old fat secret. You
Yeah.
don't get to know about it
You don't get to know.
until like one more episode.
Yeah, until one more episode. So we have a Patreon, patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. If you go on there, you can find exclusive podcasts like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman and Fox Mulder is a Maniac and Star Trek The Next Futurama. You can also make your own podcast. There's a We Just Watch tier. There's a tier where you can do what you're listening to right now and make custom podcasts. There's a lower tier where you can just watch movies with us every Friday night. There's a lot going on, is my point. And you can be a part of it.
Yeah. We also have a store, tpublic.com/store/gamefullyunemployed, where you can get t-shirts, masks, mugs, stickers, posters, all kinds of things. Check that out.
Absolutely.
Or don't.
Why not?
I don't know. Whatever you want to
Or don't.
do with your life.
Yeah. Yeah, this is America.
Mm-hmm.
It's, free-ish.
Yeah, well, ish.
Ish. Free-ish.
All right.
It's free-ish.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
That's not my fault. I'm just stating a fact. This guy changes his own motor oil. That's okay, but trashing it here is not. It's not. Ugh.